Hello, good morning. This is my attempt to animate this zombie bob. The request was to have it have a transparent background, and I believe it's going to be used as a profile picture, which is typically a square dimension. So I'm going to remove this white background and adjust the dimensions. The request also included an ask for kind of Nickelodeon green slime dripping down, so that'll be fun to draw on top of it. I'll be using the animation modes in ProCreate to do that, but first let's clear out the background and adjust the dimensions so we can get a good base to start. So in order to get rid of the white, I'm going to select it using tools in ProCreate. Instead of freehand drawing and selecting only Bob by myself, I'm going to use this automatic option here. I'm going to click remove so it knows to remove stuff. We remove that white and that white portion, and I guess maybe we'll try and remove that little white blip there in ForeverFox's signature. So it just leaves Bob and her signature. Again, this Bob was not drawn by me. It's super cute. To get rid of all that, looks like it's been selected. I'm going to turn off the background color so I can tell that it actually is transparent, because we should see ProCreate's grid in the background. And right now, as you can see, there are zigzag lines where Bob is. That means this is the portion that's not selected. Everything that has been selected for removal is on the outside. So I'm going to use a big eraser. The painting option erasers are pretty big, so I'm going to just use the round brush, maximum size, and just get rid of all that white. Ta-da! All right, so now transparent background is set. Let's adjust the dimensions. To adjust the dimensions, you're gonna go to the canvas here under that wrench, and you're gonna crop and resize it. So our goals, it's a 900 by 600 right now. So probably a 600 by 600 would be a good option. Click done, and then I'm just gonna move the square over to where Bob is. Good old Bobbo. There's a more exact way to get this centered. I'm just eyeballing it right now because I think that's good enough for government work. Press done, and now the canvas has been cropped to 600 by 600, and that is a square dimension, and it's just Bob and the signature. Awesome. So that's a good start. So Bob right now is not going to be moving. We're going to keep him in the background. So using the animation assist, which is right here under the wrench, under canvas, animation assist, you turn this on, you can choose Bob to be a background. And so nothing will ever change with Bob. He is always in the background. We are going to draw some slimy stuff. I don't have a good slime palette already, so let's just pick a slime. And what's a good heavy ink brush? We're gonna do Studio Pen, yeah. Okay, so we have a good reference on the computer. I started with the baseline slime header that I was thinking of. This is kind of a second or third frame. This is dripping too low already, so I'm gonna add a frame and insert one in front of it. And you can see that it's still faded here, oops. That even though it's on the second frame, it's kind of there and present so you can tell what's going to happen. It's called an onion skin, I think, is the view of another frame that's not happening or has already happened, that's not in your main frame. And so prior to this state, I'm gonna go ahead and draw what that looks like before. Gonna drop some slime in there. Notice I'm just holding and color dropping in. I'm not coloring it by hand. And so far, if you want to play it, that's really high speed. We're going to lower the frames per second to maybe 3 frames per second right now, just so you can see what it's doing and play. I like that. I like that starting state, and then that's the second state. All right, and we're just gonna do the next frame. So again, the dark shadow is what previous frames look like, so you can tell where they left off. But I'm now selecting on the 3rd frame and I'm drawing on it. So the next state is we're gonna have the heavier parts elongate a little more. So here, 1, 2, and 3. So we're gonna make use of that. And just rinse and repeat. Let's just see what this looks like so far. Nice. Pause. And back to frame number 5. The animation, the frame-by-frame animation guide on the computer shows that, as you can see, the drips get really long and then they start to let go. There's little circular blobs, and then it kind of recedes towards the top while the blobs drop downward. So we're just learning from that frame-by-frame animation guide and kind of copying that. So I'm gonna start disconnecting what I have here and having them drip down into drops. Okay, now let's try it. Okay, that's reasonable. Once the image or animation is at a state where you're happy with it and you want to export it, here is what you do and what each thing means. So I'm going to pause it so it stops playing in the background. We're going to go up to the wrench, and under canvas, we actually switch to share. And you can share the image as a still image. That's what these first set of items are. But here, under share layers, this is where the animated versions come out. You can share it as an animated GIF. That is the really only version that is accepted on the forum that I use. It won't show animation unless it's an animated GIF, so that's what I picked. And you have the 2 options of doing either max resolution, and up here it'll show you how big it's going to be. That's 1.4 megabytes. The file limit size for my forum is 2.2 megabytes, so I'm actually fine with it being at max resolution. Otherwise, if it's too big, you want to compress it a little, you can do web ready, and that would end up being a little less than 900 kilobytes here. And you see that it compressed it a little bit. I don't know if you can tell the difference. Here, let me switch back. Other than the actual size, it just looks more grainy and compressed when you do the web ready version. You can adjust the frame rate. I think default when you start Procreate, it's at 15 frames per second, but that's just too fast. That's just, man, it is a thunderstorm of slime. So how do I feel about 5? That's a little better. What I had it earlier for testing purposes was at 3 frames. That might actually be a little too slow. Yeah, so I tend to stick around 5 or 6 on most of the animations I end up doing. I don't know why, that's just how it's been. But I feel like that's appropriate. Let me see if it's a little faster, if it looks better. 7's okay too. 9 looks a little hectic. That's making my heart race. Yeah, I think I might go 6 or 7 this time. Oh yeah, 7's great. I don't mess with any of these other settings. That just makes everything a little more complicated. We are sticking with a transparent background. That was the request. So everything looks good. I'm gonna export this. I'm gonna name it. Let's save to files. We're gonna put this under a folder. You guys don't need to see my tree structure for this, but animated Bob Zombie. Oh gosh, it's such a witty name. I did not come up with that. I wish I had. Save, export, and now we're gonna upload this baby. There are a couple places where you can upload the other file types. I was talking about the animated GIF is the one I'm using, but you can do an animated PNG, would work on some other websites, or if you want it to be a video, there's an MP4 option, etc. But again, the form I'm using, only animated GIF works, and that's what we're gonna stick with. And I'm gonna go stick it on IMGBB and send it over and see what the client thinks.